as we begin NFL Live. Adam Schefter, what's the latest?
All right, Laura, the deal that the Miami Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa have been trying to work out has been agreed to. A 4-year, $212.4 million extension, $167 million in guaranteed money, and that makes Tua's average annual salary $53.1 million per year. Do you know what Dan Marino's career earnings with the Dolphins were? $51 million. Tua beats that on average in a single year.
The Miami Dolphins have built up one of the fastest and most explosive offenses in the NFL over the past few years, and it feels like this team is finally ready to break records after the recent offseason moves through the draft and free agency. In this video, I'm going to talk about why I think the Dolphins have one of the best offenses in the league, the additions they made that I like, some recent news, and the overall outlook for the 2024 season. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are on the road to 30k subscribers, and with your support, I believe we can get there super fast. Let's start with the biggest and most recent news of the offseason, Tua's contract extension. The Dolphins have locked up their franchise quarterback with a 3-year, $105 million extension, including $84 million guaranteed. This move shows the team's confidence in Tua and provides stability at the most important position in the game. Tua's coming off a stellar 2023 season where he threw for over 4,600 yards and 29 touchdowns, playing all 17 games. So with this extension, the Dolphins are betting on Tua's continued health and development. But some fans were very skeptical of this move, and for obvious reasons. There are even some people that think this will be the downfall of the franchise, and I can see why.
I really like Mike McDaniel. I think he's very sharp, and I have graded him on a curve. He now has seemingly signed off and advocated, because we know the owner's not in love with Tua. The owner tampered with Tom Brady to try to replace Tua, tried to go get Deshaun Watson, try to replace Tua. So maybe, but if he did, I would imagine it wouldn't be because, it would be in part because Mike McDaniel's vouching for him. So the reason I say all that is, the curve is now removed.
Alright, now let's talk about the NFL draft. The Dolphins made some solid picks to address key needs. In the first round, they selected edge rusher Chop Robinson, adding a dynamic pass rusher to their defense. They also grabbed offensive tackle Patrick Paul in the second round, who should help protect Tua and improve their offensive line. And later picks like running back Jalen Wright and wide receiver Malik Washington could provide additional weapons for this already potent offense. In free agency, the Dolphins made some interesting moves to bolster their defense. They signed veteran safety Jordan Poyer, who should pair well with Javon Holland in the secondary. They also added linebacker Jordan Brooks and edge rusher Shaq Barrett, addressing needs in their front seven. These additions should help balance out the team and support their high-powered offense. And speaking of that offense, it's hard not to be excited about what the Dolphins can do in 2024 with all the talent they still have. With Tua throwing to Tyreke Hill and Jalen Waddle, they have one of the most explosive passing attacks in the league. And the addition of tight end Jonnu Smith in free agency gives Tua another reliable target if he can stay healthy, which has been a challenge in recent years. So I really do think, once again, this offense could be nearly unstoppable. However, there are some concerns. The Dolphins lost some key players on both sides of the ball, including defensive tackle Christian Wilkins and guard Robert Hunt. They'll need their new additions and draft picks to step up and fill these gaps.
And yet they paid Jalen Waddle. They're getting ready to pay Tyreke Hill again.
And they draft more fast people.
Right. And so like you look at like their setup and it's like, this is going to have to be about Tua.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And so, and if you're the Dolphins, like, let me take you through this scenario. If you're the Dolphins, do you look a year off into the future and say, we can draw a line?
So looking ahead to the 2024 season, expectations are high for the Dolphins. They've had 4 consecutive winning seasons, including an 11-6 record in 2023. With their offensive firepower and defensive additions, they should be in contention for the AFC East title and a deep playoff run. The key thing for the Dolphins, as everyone keeps saying, will be staying healthy. Injuries derailed their chances last year, despite looking like one of the best teams in the NFL at times. If they can avoid the injury bug and their new additions pan out, we could see the Dolphins not just competing for a playoff spot, but potentially making a run at the Super Bowl. But they really just need to take things one step at a time. Now to talk about what's going on in training camp right now, the Dolphins are facing significant changes in their front seven with the departure of players like Christian Wilkins, Andrew Van Ginkel, Raekwon Davis, and Jerome Baker. To fill these gaps, the team has signed 7 defensive tackles to compete for starting positions. With Jordan Brooks expected to replace Baker at inside linebacker, the status of outside linebackers Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, who are both recovering from injuries, will be crucial. And first-round pick Chop Robinson, who I already mentioned, and the new additions of Shaquille Barrett and Mohamed Kamara are expected to play significant roles. The most compelling position battle is at defensive tackle, where Zach Sealer is a confirmed starter, but his counterpart could be any of the newly signed defensive tackles, including Tyre Tart, Brandon Pilley, and Deshaun Hand. Veteran Calais Campbell will also be a part of the rotation. Miami will have a crowded running back room with returning players Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane, and the new addition of Jalen Wright. Mostert led the NFL in rushing touchdowns last season, and Achane had an impressive 800 yards on 103 carries. The distribution of workload among these players will be a key focus. I am just so intrigued by the whole Tua situation because I truly do think he's an amazing player, but we all know what happened with all those concussions, and at times he just hasn't been up to the task in big moments, more specifically in the playoffs. It was kind of like a lose-lose situation because if you give him the bag, people are going to be mad, but at the same time, if you let him walk, a lot of other people will be pretty upset. In conclusion, the Dolphins have made some smart moves this offseason in my opinion, locking up their quarterback and adding talent on both sides of the ball. Their offense has the potential to be one of the best in the league, and if their defense can step up, this could be a special year in Miami. What do you think about the Dolphins' chances in 2024? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, because your support truly does mean the world. And until next time, I will see you all later.
That may have been the single most determinative factor, not the cold, not the fact that they don't beat good teams, not the fact that, they've had this history of starting well and then fading. The fact that they literally didn't have anybody capable of rushing the passer. That might have been the biggest thing there. So maybe they were, well good enough to beat Kansas City in normal circumstances. It's just that at that point, the injuries had completely removed any real opportunity they had to achieve that. And if that's your determination, then you look at them this year and you say, okay, they are better than that. They could win 12, 13 games and, be a contender again.